Happiness seems to be somewhere at the end of the rainbow. When we finally get to that pot of gold, it seems like in order to get it, you need to earn it under certain circumstances or conditions. A global report published in 2022 shows that 88% of people look for new experiences to make them happy. 45% of people have not felt true happiness for more than 2 years in their life. And 25% of people don't know or have forgotten what it means to feel truly happy. But where does it really come from? Why does it seem so hard to feel it all the time? Let's consider children before education, up to 6 years of age. They seem to be very content as long as their physical needs are met. They tend to play with anything available and have fun with very little, even with themselves. Their minds are quite imaginative. They create spontaneously and innocently things that don't really make sense from a linear or intellectual perspective. When asked to create a story, they'll come up with limitless possibilities, like flying hot dogs and dead creatures returning to life due to magical powers. With no clear beginning or end, neither a hero or a bad guy. When given paint and canvas, they'll create something rather chaotic, without judgment as good or bad creation. They will lovingly gift someone with a piece of paper with a couple of lines on it until they begin to learn that thinking logically is very important. We begin to condition the mind to perceive limitations. That's when we stop imagining and begin to worry about getting good grades, getting to a college, get a good retirement. When the majority of people buy into a story, into an image of what happiness looks like, we create a collective consciousness, a collective agreement that believes that happiness is somewhere in the future. It's not really here and now. You need to do something now in order to experience happiness in future. Well, those numbers show us that that's not what really happens. Even knowing that by the time you get to retirement, the promised happiness and freedom is not really there, why do we still follow that path? Our animal survival instinct, when not observed, lead us to fear-based decisions, and it feels a lot safer to follow the herd. There is a sense of security in doing what most people do. We are highly influenced by people around us and the media. We tend to be afraid of being that one fish who decides to swim the other way. Our current education system doesn't teach us how to think for ourselves. We're programmed, subtly or not so subtly, to believe that if we don't follow the herd, we're not safe. We develop a fear of missing out. We develop a tendency of following instead of leading. We get comfortable in a position of being led by a certain authority. And fear-based education, thinking, feeling, and acting is what keeps us from connecting with our innate source of creativity and happiness. We are programmed to be afraid of our own unique creative potential, to shy away from our uniqueness and try to fit in, try to belong. And we begin to think fearfully and make choices based on fear. When our unique creative potential is not expressed, we experience an existential void. And we go on trying to fill that void with entertainment, consumerism, food, and instant gratification from a paycheck. Those temporary sources of pleasure trigger our reward mechanism in the brain and keeps us going back to them because they don't last. We all know that when a sense of satisfaction runs out, we go on looking for more. We might not be conscious of it, but we are doing it all the time. There is a direct correlation between our level of satisfaction in life and the expression of our unique creative potential. We were created to create. We are all artists of some sort. There is an inherent reward in creating, and even more rewarding when that creation benefits somehow somebody else. Sharing our gifts with our fellow humans gives us an unmatched sense of satisfaction because it is like sharing with ourselves. When we stop creating and begin to follow a pattern, we begin to repeat what somebody else does and try to fit in a box that never really feels comfortable, does it? We stop laughing, we stop having fun, we stop playing, and we start seeking the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but never seem to find it because it keeps us looking away from what's right here in front of our nose, or maybe inside our mind. The hormones that give us a sense of pleasure are obviously inside of us, and we can access them at all times using our imagination. Einstein said that the highest form of intelligence is imagination, and he would recommend kids to keep reading fairy tales and more fairy tales. We can see that we lose touch with our innate, joyful nature when we stop imagining, when we turn within through meditation, through self inquiry, self observation, mindfulness. We can reconnect with our infinite creative potential, and we can find the source of dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and our own source of happiness. We then realize that external circumstances are not determining the way we feel, but our thoughts about the circumstances are creating our experience. Here are some questions that can point to your unique pot of gold, your joy, your innate happiness. What did you enjoy doing as a child? If there were no limits, what would you be doing with your time? If there were no obligations, no have tos, no to do list, what would you choose to do? Notice your current goals and ask yourself, are those goals yours, your own goals, or they are influenced by somebody else's agenda? Let's wake up to the truth of where the pot of gold really is, and that is available to all of us right here, right now. We need to stop following the herd and flying the other way, the way to happiness, the way to well-being, the way to peace, the way to joy. For our evolution of consciousness, for the sake of the species, for the sake of the planet.